So basically, we all think we know what scary animals look like, right? Like, oh no, a lion. Oh no, a shark. But here's the thing. Every single one of these modern scary animals would literally run away screaming if they met the psychopathic killers that used to roam this planet. Because I dug into prehistory and found some of the craziest, most aggressive, most psychopathic prehistoric animals that have ever lived on this planet. Let's talk about them. So here's something fun. About 15 million years ago in Argentina, there was this bird. And when I say bird, I mean a 10-foot tall psychopath with a skull the size of a horse's head and absolutely zero chill about using it. Kelenken had what you might call anger management issues. See, most birds today fly around, eat seeds, maybe poop on your car if they're feeling really rebellious. Kelenken? Well, this guy woke up every morning and shows violence. We're talking about a creature whose entire head was basically one giant murder weapon. The beak and skull were fused together into what scientists politely call a single striking weapon, which is just fancy talk for nature's pickaxe. The thing is, the Kelenken didn't just peck stuff. Oh no, that would be too simple. This bird studied the ancient martial art of blunt force to the head. It would chase down some poor three-toed horse, and yeah, it could hit 30 miles per hour, so good luck outrunning that. Then slam its beak straight down onto the victim's skull. One hit, done. No follow-up needed. But here's where it gets really twisted. If whatever it hit was still twitching, Kelenken would grab it with the tip of its beak and shake it side to side until it stopped moving. You know how your dog shakes a toy? Well, but the toy used to be a living mammal, and the dog weighs 280 pounds. Scientists have found fractured skulls in the dirt that matched perfectly with Kelenken's beak strikes. And get this, the bird didn't even have proper talons for grabbing prey. It had these blunt claws that were basically just for stomping on things after it knocked them down. But of course, things that can actually fly make everything way worse. Now we've got Hatzegopteryx. This thing was a pterosaur with a 40-foot wingspan and some serious boundary issues when it came to what constituted acceptable prey size. Most flying reptiles back in the day were happy eating fish and small animals. You know, reasonable pterosaur behavior. Hatzegopteryx looked at that lifestyle and said, nope, I'm gonna eat the dinosaur. And not little ones either. We're talking about swallowing whole 6-foot-long baby dinosaurs in one gulp. The skull alone was 10 feet long. Yes, 10 feet. That is longer than most people's bedrooms. And unlike other pterosaurs who had delicate, lightweight heads, Hatzegopteryx built its skull like a cement truck. Thick, heavy, and designed to handle whatever nightmare scenario it was about to create. Here's the thing that really gets me about it. This creature lived on an island. So picture this. You're a small dinosaur living your best life on your Hawaiian island or something, maybe working on your dinosaur tan, and suddenly this giraffe-sized flying nightmare drops out of the sky, decides you look like a roast beef sandwich. The bite force was intense enough that it could puncture skulls and spines without even breaking a sweat. Or maybe pterosaurs don't sweat. I don't know. I didn't live back then. Either way, this thing had zero problems cracking open prey like a walnut. Some scientists think it would actually grab smaller dinosaurs, fly up a bit, and then drop them just to shatter their bones before landing to eat the mess. And the worst part, Hatzegopteryx had this massively big mouth. Its mouth could open wider than most car doors do. So when it decided to eat whatever its prey was, there was no escaping. You know how pelicans literally try to eat everything possible, but they just can't? This is a nightmare pelican. But wings are optional when you're already a walking nightmare. Meet Smok. Polish scientists literally named this thing Dragon because apparently terrifying bone-eating psychopath was already taken by another dinosaur. Smok lived 210 million years ago and had what you would call a weird eating fixation. Now, most weird eating fixations that we know of are, oh, I don't like peas, I don't like broccoli. Well, Smok just really loved eating bones. And not just gnawing on those bones, but actually crunching through and swallowing entire bone fragments for the nutrients, which tells you everything you need to know about how competitive things were back then. We know this because paleontologists have found Smok's fossilized poop, and it's basically a bone smoothie. It's got rib bones, lip bones, even its own teeth that broke off during particularly aggressive meals. This thing was biting so hard, it was constantly breaking its own teeth and then swallowing them. But here's where Smok really earned its psychopath credentials. It ate other Smoks. scientists have found bite marks on Smok bones that match Smok teeth perfectly. So either they were fighting each other to death, or when one died, the others just shrugged and started munching. Probably Month, knowing this thing already eats bones whole. The teeth were like serrated knives, each perfect for slicing meat, and the jaw was powerful enough to crack bones like pistachios. Smok would grab some unlucky amphibian or early mammal and bite down until bones started breaking, and then just kept going until everything was small enough to digest properly. One fossil that's been found shows a Smok tooth embedded in an amphibian bone that was trying to heal around it. So this amphibian got bit by Smok, somehow survived, the tooth stuck in its bone, and lived long enough for the bone to start healing, before probably getting eaten by something else entirely. But still, there's something almost quaint about land predators with size limits. Let's talk about Arctodus. Arctodus was a bear with some really unfortunate personality traits. You know how regular bears already have anger issues? Well, like not black bears, but like polar bears and grizzly bears, you don't mess with those? Well, Arctodus weighed a literal ton and could stand 12 feet tall on its back legs. This was not your average, oh look, it's a cute bear in the woods situation. Arctodus had legs longer than most people and could probably outrun your car in a school zone, which is already terrifying. But it gets worse because this bear had zero interest in berries or salmon or any normal bear activities. Arctodus was what scientists call a hypercarnivore, which is a polite way of saying it only ate meat and had serious boundary issues about whose meat that was. See, while other predators were out there actually hunting for their dinner, Arctodus just showed up to their meals uninvited and kicked everyone else away from the table. Picture this, a pack of direwolves takes down a bison after hours of work. They're all excited, about to dig in, when suddenly this house-sized bear comes lumbering over, stands up to its full 12-foot height, and basically says, "This food's mine now." What are the wolves gonna do? Fight back? No, it's a big bear. File a complaint? This is prehistoric times. There's no HR department. But Arctodus wasn't content with just stealing its kills, because fossil evidence shows it would absolutely hunt when the mood struck. Those long legs weren't there just to look scary. They could run down horses and camels in short bursts, and once it caught something, those bone-crushing jaws would crack femurs just to get the marrow inside. The really fun part is that Arctodus bones show healed injuries from fights with other Arctodus bears. So these things were so aggressive that they would fight each other over territory. Some of them survived having the ribs caved in by another ton of angry bear. Giant bears aside though, some predators preferred more elegant solutions. Let's talk about the HYAENODON. And it spent 15 million years perfecting the art of having a ridiculously oversized head, and honestly, it worked out pretty well for them. We're talking about predators whose skulls were almost half the length of their entire body, which sounds stupid until you realize that massive head was packed with jaw muscles that could snap necks with a single bite. The biggest ones were tiger-sized, but with way more attitude problems. What made HYAENODON special wasn't just the size of its jaws, it's how they used them. These things had teeth in the back of their mouth that worked exactly like scissors. So they grab some unlucky herbivore, deliver that trademark neck snapping bite, and then use their cheek teeth to literally cut the carcass into manageable pieces. Scientists have found fossilized HYAENODON poop, and it's basically just pulverized bone fragments. These predators were so thorough that they would eat everything, crunch it all up, and digest bones for the calcium, which tells you that they were not picky eaters. If it had meat on it, HYAENODON was interested. Even if it didn't have meat on it, it would probably still eat it. The fossil record shows that they hung out at watering holes, which seems innocent enough since water holes are supposed to be safe, but that's up until you realize they were the mob. HYAENODON would wait for some thirsty rhinoceros or early horse to show up for a drink, then boom, surprise neck bite, and repeat this process for millions of years, and you've got yourself a very successful predator mob. But the best part, again, HYAENODON fossils sometimes show puncture wounds from other HYAENODON teeth, so when they weren't busy killing everything else, they were killing each other, apparently over who got to use the good ambush spots. Some of these skull injuries have healed, which means that they were able to survive getting their face bitten by another HYAENODON and just went back to work. As you can tell, a lot of creatures in this video like to fight with their own species. Why? Well, they're all very aggressive creatures. That's why. And speaking of family issues, let's talk about the hell pigs. Daeodon earned the nickname hell pig the old-fashioned way, by acting absolutely unhinged about everything. This wasn't even a real pig. It was just something that looked pig-shaped but weighed 900 pounds and had tusks designed for maximum damage. The skull was 3 feet long and covered in bony lumps that were basically built-in brass knuckles for when things got personal. And things got personal a lot. Daeodon fossils are covered in bite marks from other Daeodon, specifically on the face and snout. out. These things would grab each other's muzzles and just start biting until somebody gave up, which is already pretty metal. But the bite marks healed over. Yes, once again, they survived these fights. The jaw could open wide enough to fit your entire torso, and when it slammed shut, bones just exploded. We know this because fossil sites are full of crushed horse and camel bones with Daeodon tooth marks scored all over them. They didn't just eat the meat, they would gnaw through leg bones to get at the marrow, leaving behind what looked like a wood chipper accident. But Daeodon's real talent was intimidation. When food got scarce, they would just walk up to other predators and basically say, "Nice kill you got there." It would be a shame if something happened to it. Those long legs could hit surprising speeds in short bursts, so when a nearly half-ton pig starts charging at you, most sane predators decided they weren't that hungry after all. Again, the cannibalism thing was pretty standard too. They ate each other a lot. This was a pig from hell, but at least hell pigs stayed on the ground where you could see them coming. Unlike Arctodus. You know what's worse than a regular dinosaur trying to kill you? A dinosaur with a plan. Acrocanthosaurus wasn't just wandering around hoping to stumble into lunch. This 40-foot long predator had a very specific target demographic, anything that weighed 40 tons or more, which is already a red flag because most sane predators look at something that massive and think, maybe I'll just eat some fish today, but not Acrocanthosaurus. This thing saw a Sauroposeidon, which is a dinosaur the size of a 4-story building, and thought, yeah, I can take that. The spine had these huge ridges running down the back, probably supporting muscles built specifically for wrestling with giants. We actually have proof of this because some genius paleontologists found trackways in Texas, but not just any tracks, a crime scene. You can see Acrocanthosaurus footprints following a herd of sauropods, step by step, and then at one point the predator tracks show this weird skip pattern. And that skip, that's where Acrocanthosaurus launched itself at a 40-ton herbivore and tried to latch on. The audacity is just insane. Your average predator sees something that outweighs it by 8 times and would back away slowly. Acrocanthosaurus saw the same thing and literally thought what a frat bro thinks, hold my beer, I'm gonna jump off this building. Except it jumped and attacked giant sauropods. The teeth were serrated steak knives, perfect for opening massive wounds and just letting blood loss do the heavy lifting. And those arms, while short, ended in these wicked claws that could probably punch through hide and hold on while the victim thrashed around trying to shake off what was essentially a very angry lamprey with legs. Fossil sauropod bones show gouges that match Acrocanthosaurus teeth perfectly. So yeah, its plan actually worked, which makes it even more disturbing. It is ridiculous how big and aggressive this dinosaur is. Of course, that is nothing compared to actual living chainsaws. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's talk about Carcharodontosaurus. And it had teeth that looked exactly like shark teeth, except they were the size of bananas and attached to something that weighed 8 tons. African rivers 95 million years ago were apparently just terrible places to exist if you weren't a 43-foot long murder machine with a mouthful of kitchen knives. This thing shared territory with Spinosaurus, which already tells you the competition was getting out of hand. But while Spinosaurus was busy revolutionizing fish-eating technology, Carcharodontosaurus stuck to the classics, finding the biggest land animals possible and turning them into meat ribbons. Those serrated teeth weren't designed for crushing bones or holding onto prey. They were designed for one thing: slicing off chunks of meat the size of garbage cans. The skull was built light and fast, which sounds reasonable until you realize it was still 5 feet long and packed with 80 razor-sharp teeth. Carcharodontosaurus would bite down, pull away, and take half a leg with it, then just wait for shock and blood loss to finish the job while it went back for seconds. Fossil evidence shows this thing absolutely demolished and owned giant sauropods. We're talking about predator-prey relationships where the prey was literally 5 times heavier than the predator, and somehow the predator was winning these encounters regularly. That takes a special kind of psychopathic dinosaur. The really twisted part is that Carcharodontosaurus, again, sometimes show the bite marks of other Carcharodontosaurus. I think everything we've talked about today has done that so far. It seems like the big, bad, scary creatures like to hurt each other. I wonder why. Even its name means shark-toothed lizard, which is what happens when paleontologists run out of polite ways to say this thing was absolutely unhinged. So yeah, individual chainsaws are bad enough, but what about an entire team of them? Well, Utahraptor was what happened when evolution looked at regular raptors and said, you know what this needs? More raptor. Most people think of raptors as human-sized pack hunters with attitude problems. Why? Well, Jurassic Park. But Utahraptor was 23 feet long, weighed half a ton, and had foot claws that were almost 10 inches of pure nightmare fuel. Each claw was curved and razor sharp, designed specifically for opening up large mammals from the inside out. The really scary part wasn't the size, it was the teamwork. Scientists have found a whole group of different age Utahraptor trapped together with what looks like their last meal. Adults, juveniles, all apparently working together to take down something much bigger than any individual could handle. The attack strategy was pretty simple in concept and terrifying in execution. Step 1, surround the target. Step 2, everybody jumps on it once. Step 3, start kicking with those giant toe claws until something vital gets punctured. The leg muscles were built for delivering massive force through those claws. We're talking about kicks that could punch through thick hide and into organs and just have them spill out all over the ground. And meanwhile, the smaller raptors would be using their hand claws to hang onto the victims' backs and flanks, biting whatever they could reach. So you've got this coordinated assault where some are causing massive internal damage with their feet, while others are just shredding everything that they can grab. The fossil evidence shows these things hunted in family groups, which somehow, again, makes it worse. Nothing says we really thought this through like bringing your kids to work when your job involves disemboweling large herbivores. And the worst part, these were incredibly intelligent dinosaurs. They were smart enough to plan these attacks, they had good eyesight and a decent brain size, and apparently excellent communication skills for coordinating multi-raptor takedowns. Now, we've obviously realized that land predators are terrifying, but what if we move to the ocean where there's a different set of rules? Well, Tylosaurus looked at all those rules and just decided to break them. While everyone else was dealing with legs and running and all that complicated stuff, Tylosaurus was living in a world where physics worked differently. Water meant no gravity problems, no escape routes, and best of all, no witnesses. Just you, 46 feet of angry sea lizard, in the crushing depths of an ancient ocean. The head alone was bigger than most people's entire bodies, but here's the genius part. The front of the snout was solid bone with no teeth. Tylosaurus had basically evolved a battering ram for a nose. Step 1, ram the prey at high speed and scramble their brain. Step 2, grab the stunned victim with a mouthful of cone-shaped teeth. Step 3, swallow everything whole. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Scientists have found a Tylosaurus with a 6-foot fish in its stomach. Not chewed up, not in pieces, but the whole fish. Probably still wondering what happened. Another one had the remains of a plesiosaur inside it, because apparently even other giant marine reptiles weren't off the menu. The jaw could unhinge and open almost 180 degrees, turning Tylosaurus into a living garbage disposal with anger issues. And those throat teeth made sure nothing was getting back out once it went in. The tail was pure muscle and designed for sudden bursts of speed that could turn a leisurely swim into a high-speed collision in seconds. But again, you've probably guessed at this point, Tylosaurus would eat other Tylosaurus. Bite marks on smaller mosasaur fossils match perfectly with Tylosaurus teeth, so when business was slow, they'd just start eating each other. Now, swimming predators are bad enough until someone decided to invent living bear traps. And that living bear trap is Deinosuchus, and it was the worst possible guess you'd want at your surprise party. And trust me, it would be a surprise party. Picture this, you're a 30-foot long hadrosaur, and you've had a long day of eating plants and avoiding the hilarious land predators trying to murder you. You just want to have a nice drink of water, so you walk up to the river, and everything seems peaceful. It's almost like blissful. It's so cute, the nice little landscape. And something with jaws the size of a dining room table is dragging you to the bottom. This wasn't just a big crocodile. Deinosuchus was the big crocodile. It was 40 feet of patient, calculating hatred with a bite force that could crush a car. The name literally means terrible crocodile, which shows you that even paleontologists occasionally run out of creative ways to say this thing was completely unhinged. The skull was over 4 feet long and packed with teeth as thick as bananas. But Deinosuchus didn't need fancy hunting strategies or pack tactics. It just needed to master the art of staying perfectly still until something came within grabbing distance. Then those jaws would snap shut with 20,000 pounds of force, and that was pretty much game over. Hadrosaur fossils from river deposits are covered in Deinosuchus bite marks. Some show amputated limbs where something got grabbed by the leg and just had it ripped clean off. Others have Deinosuchus teeth embedded into the bone with healing marks around them, meaning that sometimes things lived, but not often. And even young tyrannosaurs weren't safe. Anything that came to the water's edge for a drink was fair game. Deinosuchus would grab whatever it could reach, roll with it underwater until it drowned, and then drag the carcass to some underwater cave to rot until it was tender enough to tear apart. Yeah, river ambushes are scary, but let's talk about ocean ambushes now. Pliosaurus FUNKEI earned the nickname Predator X before scientists even knew what they were looking at. The Arctic Ocean 147 million years ago was apparently home to a 50-foot-long murder machine with flippers, cruising around looking for something to bite in half. This thing had a skull the size of a small car and teeth that were literally a foot long, not even including the roots. Just the stabbing part was 12 inches of pure sharpness. But here's what made Predator X special. It had the strongest bite force in Earth's history. We're talking about 33,000 pounds of square inch of jaw pressure. That is much stronger than a T-Rex and enough to pop a whale like a balloon. Those massive flippers could accelerate all 45 tons of angry pliosaur up to ramming speeds before the victim even knew what was happening. The hunting strategy was elegant in its simplicity. See something living, swim at it really fast, bite it in half, swallow both halves. Ichthyosaurs, Plesiosaurus, other pliosaurs, nothing was too big or too armored to escape becoming lunch. Fossil evidence shows Predator X would grab prey and then thrash side to side until pieces started coming off. One pliosaur flipper was found with gouges that matched this thing's teeth perfectly, probably from a friendly neighbor dispute over territory that ended with someone's arm getting ripped off. The really disturbing part is that Predator X lived in Arctic waters, which means it was doing all this murder in near freezing temperatures. Most animals get sluggish in the cold, especially reptiles and fish. This thing apparently just got more focused on the task of biting everything in half. Scientists literally ran out of polite scientific terms and just started calling it Predator X, because sometimes you just gotta call a spade a spade. This thing is a nightmare, so it gets the cool nightmare name. Arctic murder machines aside, some predators preferred warmer climates for their violence, and that predator was none other than TORVOSAURUS. TORVOSAURUS took one look at the available prey in the Jurassic and decided regular-sized animals were beneath it. Everything about this predator screamed, "I only hunt giants." The skull was built heavy and long, packed with teeth that were 10 inches from tip to root, which are some of the longest choppers any Jurassic theropod ever grew. These weren't delicate slicing teeth for nimble prey. These were thick, robust blades designed for punching through the hide of something that weighed 20 tons. While Allosaurus was running around being all athletic and graceful, TORVOSAURUS was the bruiser who showed up specifically to fight the biggest herbivores in the neighborhood. Sauropods, massive stegosaurs, anything that other predators looked at and thought, maybe I'll just wait for it to die before I eat it. The bite force was absolutely devastating. It was enough to crush through thick bone and sinew without even breaking a sweat. But here's what made TORVOSAURUS really special. It apparently had zero interest in sharing. Fossil evidence shows TORVOSAURUS would fight other big predators over kills and sometimes win. They have found Allosaurus bone with a TORVOSAURUS tooth fragment stuck in it. Yes, it was fighting other apex predators. Portuguese fossil sites show that the TORVOSAURUS was the only large predator hanging around massive sauropod graveyards, which suggests that it either specialized in hunting these giants or it was scary enough to keep all the other predators away from the free lunch. Even other TORVOSAURUS weren't safe, but you probably saw that coming by now. These things are aggressive. Specialization is pretty scary, but some predators preferred a more personal touch. CERATOSAURUS walked around with 3 horns on its face, and somehow that wasn't even the most disturbing thing about it. The nose horn was obvious. It was this blade-like spike pointing forward that probably made other predators think twice about getting into face-to-face arguments. The real horror show was what CERATOSAURUS did with its mouth. Those long serrated teeth weren't just for killing its prey, they were for killing each other. Because out of all the dinosaurs we've talked about today, this one probably the most so. Fossilized Ceratosaurus skulls are covered in healed bite marks that match other Ceratosaurus teeth perfectly. These things were biting each other constantly. Like constantly. These things were die-hard cannibals. And it hunted in rivers and wetlands where Ceratosaurus could use its flexible body and swimming ability to catch things other predators couldn't reach, like crocodiles, large fish, and aquatic reptiles. Basically anything stupid enough to think water was a safe place. The longer, more flexible skull meant Ceratosaurus could grab slippery prey that would slide right out of other theropods' mouths. Plus, those powerful neck muscles could whip the head sideways to slam struggling prey against rocks or the riverbank until they stopped moving. But during the dry seasons, when water sources dried up, Ceratosaurus would skip the aquatic diet and just start eating each other. That's when the cannibalism was in full season. Now let's move on from the cannibals and talk about the original psychopath. HERRERASAURUS was one of the first dinosaurs. Apparently they decided to set the tone for the next 165 million years right from the start. This was wasn't some giant plant eater slowly figuring out how to be a dinosaur. HERRERASAURUS was 20 feet of pure predator with pack hunting instincts and a complete lack of mercy for anything smaller than itself. The jaws were full of serrated teeth designed for one purpose: turning other early dinosaurs into bite-sized pieces. Argentina 231 million years ago was basically HERRERASAURUS and friends running a protection racket on every other animal in the ecosystem. Small herbivore dinosaurs, primitive reptiles, early mammals, everything was fair game for what was essentially the world's first dinosaur gang. They hunted in groups, which is already terrifying, but the fossil evidence shows that they were bringing their kids along to the family business. Multiple generations were working together to take down the prey that was too big for any individual to handle. They were literally teaching their young ones how to properly disembowel from an early age. The grasping hands had curved claws, perfect for holding onto struggling victims while the teeth went to work. Those long, powerful legs meant nothing was outrunning a pack of motivated HERRERASAURUS, who'd already decided that you looked like dinner. Bone beds show multiple herbivores with matching bite patterns from HERRERASAURUS teeth. These were not random attacks, they were systematic hunting operations with repeated success. It's the kind of organized violence that would make even humans start taking notes. And those are just some of the most psychopathic and aggressive prehistoric animals that have lived on our planet. Which was your favorite learning about? Let me know down in the comments below, and comment any other prehistoric animals you'd like me to cover. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. And feel free to hit the hype button as it helps our videos get shown to more people. And if you'd like to watch another one of our videos right now, you can click the video on screen now to watch it.